your hand till it goes cold. I hold my tears until you go. With all the life that leaves your bones, it soaks the purpose from my own. Please don't go. I love you more. You've got a hole inside my soul. It's like a mountain in the earth, the river flows. Please don't go again. I hold myself so I can see. My pillow holds the screams I need.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon. Half of Ray, Stephen, Carolyn, Angela, Marisa and their families, I warmly welcome you today as we gather to acknowledge the beautiful life of Dorothy Grace Newman, or as she was always known, Grace. My name is Andrea, and it is my honour to be the celebrant today, as we remember, as we pay tribute, as we celebrate an amazing woman, a woman who was caring, loyal, resilient, humble, and above all, she was kind. A woman who was always thinking of others, those little questions she would ask. Are you warm? Have you eaten? Did you sleep well? These are things that show a big heart. And she showed that big heart right up until the very end. So, while this is a sad occasion, it is also a celebration of a life well lived. And this afternoon we are showing our gratitude for having grace in our lives. A few notices first. A little reminder, if you haven't already, please turn your cell phones to silent. There are a couple of chairs up the front here if you are unable to stand for the service, for those people at the back. At the end of the service there will be an opportunity to share stories and further memories of Grace as we have some refreshments here, and it would be lovely if you could stay on and join the family. There is a memorial book. If you didn't get the chance to sign it as you entered, the family would appreciate you doing so after the ceremony. And a warm welcome to those joining us via the live stream. A special mention to Grace's grandchildren, Heidi, joining us from London, Yanis, Ravi and Abby, who have come together in Melbourne, and Claire with her husband Cody and their baby Brooklyn, also watching from Melbourne. Though you are across the miles, you are all very much a part of today's ceremony. So let's begin with this ceremony with acknowledging those who Grace loved very much, who have gone before her. We acknowledge her parents, Ted and Annie Simpringham, and we remember all of us and 6 sisters. Grace was the last surviving sibling of her family. Her death being significant to not just her children, but to all nephews and nieces, and great-nephews and nieces, as that branch of the family tree is now complete. Grace's death is an a very special generation. So it is important to acknowledge today all of her siblings, Kitty, Ted, Anne, Bob, Bert, Ivy, Patrick, Jean, Eric, David, Faye, and Joy. While Grace was close to all of her siblings, we acknowledge the love and care she gave to Faye throughout her lifetime, and also to Joy with the challenges that life brings. Grace never complained, she just did what she had to do, and by doing so she reminded us the importance of having compassion and care, the value of being there for your family, through not just the easy parts but the difficult parts also. Yes, family is everything. So I now ask Grace's family to come forward to light the memorial candles.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. The hour I first believed, through many dangers.
There are 3 parts to a candle: the wax, the wick, and the flame. Just like there are 3 and the end. And we need all parts to make it complete. These candles represent the love that will continue to shine in our hearts with memories of grace. Memories shared, especially with Ray, her children, and their families. We will see how they go with this beautiful say goodbye. Love was always around Grace. She gave and received love throughout her long life. She was not alone. Her family kept daily and nightly vigils at this special time. Grace had spent the last 2 years at Ryman and care she received there. She lived for people. People kept her going. Throughout her life, she was just generally they were doing. And people like Grace make us feel better. They lift us up by just being their authentic self. Grace loved everyone, but her family was paramount. Firstly, to you, Ray, you have been married 64 years, and despite health challenges that have entered over recent years, love is love. And on behalf of everyone in this room and those watching, condolences to you with the loss of your wife. And to Grace's children, You all had a wonderful role model as a mother. We know a mother's love knows no bounds. Your mum nurtured you, showered you with care and affection, helped you when you were younger. Taylor, Heidi and Abby, Giannis, Ravi and baby Tenzin. Claire and Scott, Sophie, Grace and Eva. Grace was proud of her family following all your milestones throughout your lives. Her room in Ryman was covered with photos of you all and the 3 latest additions to the family. Her 3 great-grandchildren, Ruby, Brooklyn and Darby. And a special mention to all of Grace's other children. Grace was a mum to many. The farm at Tikaraka and then at Otoko would have been a favourite destination for many of her nephews and nieces. She was a mother figure to them all and loved hosting her family and hosting quite a few other randoms that weren't family. Many memories of all sorts of overseas visitors somehow ending up at Grace and Ray's place. So this afternoon is all about Grace, so we will now hear from those who knew her best. I invite Ange to begin with Grace's eulogy, followed by Stephen.
Grace was 5 years old when she told her mother she would like a Lamington for her birthday. The Simpringhams were a one-horse family, and the older ones had dibs on the horse. So every day, Grace walked to and from primary school, passing the Awanui bakery. The cake that fixated her was the exotic-looking Lamington. She never did get a Lamington for her 6th birthday, but it was the first thing she ever bought. It was love at first taste. So she decided then and there that when she was rich, she would always have Lamingtons at home. And she always did. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Angela Newman, along with Carolyn, Marisa and Stephen. We are lucky enough to call Grace our mum. Today, I want to give you a sense of not just who Grace was, but what she was, what she stood for, what gave her strength, and what gave her joy. This eulogy may at times seem like Grace's musings, a weather report, a few random tidbits about people you may or may not know, a book, a recipe to try, reports about what Carly and Babs are doing, any secrets told to her that she can strongly hint at, and the fact that Dad is working too hard, and who she... Grace's passing feels like the end of an era. She was the last of the Simpringham clan to go, a clan Grace loved and took delight in throughout her life. Being one of the Simpringhams gave her a grounding, her strength, a quiet self-assuredness. The stories I tell are a collection. They may have a bit of the Irish flair added to them, which I will make no apologies for. Grace came from humble stock and set her happiness bar accordingly. She was one of the young ones in a clutch of 13 Simpringham children living in Unahi Road, Awanui, just north of Kaitaia. George Simpringham, known as Ted. He was born in Islington, London. Ted's parents, Annie and Edwin, were both profoundly deaf. Edwin was a... He did floors at Harrods, Buckingham Palace, and as far away as South Africa. They met in a sheltered workshop in South London. They used sign language to communicate. The use of hand movements and gestures when speaking was a thing for Grace. Not sure of the other simps, but even her hand gestures and joyful clapping were with her right to the end. When Grace's father Ted was 15, he took a job as a deckhand on a ship working on New Zealand trade. His first trip was abysmal, so he jumped ship the minute he docked in Auckland and disappeared into the city. Ted was quick to sign up at the onset of World War I, where he fought in France and at Gallipoli. One night, 236 men of their company of 250 were slaughtered. Ted was one of only 14 remaining. Earlier in his life, Grace's dad Ted also had a near miss with an eruption on White Island, where he was working mining sulphur. But off sick the day it erupted in 1914, 11 men lost their lives. How fragile lives and the existence of his line was. Ted met his future wife, Miss Annie Elliott, on the SS Arawak as it sailed back to New Zealand. Annie was from Maghera, Londonderry in Northern Ireland. If you're from the south, you'll call this Derry. And if you watch the Derry Girls, you'll get a sense of the accent and the life of that area. Annie was 15 and travelling with her sister Maggie to stay with their two sisters, Lizzie and Susie, who were based here in Glasgow. Grace was happy to be Irish. She felt it was a good personality fit. Together, Ted and Annie bought the 90-acre farm in the United States, 13 children over the next 17 years. A big part of developing the farm was the digging of drains, all done by hand. The drains were famous in the district, and it was thought they were the widest and deepest hand-dug drains in the country. I'm thinking probably the older Supreme boys had a big hand in that. When Grace hears that brother Pat has started digging a pool in his backyard in his home in Epsom. When she heard, Grace smiled. Those brothers can do anything. If you have Cyprian blood running through your veins, you have stories of the Cyprian childhood. Bob pulling apart and modifying anything that moved, Ted knocking down walls and inventing things, Pat trying to add some logic and design into the equation, and Bert happily carrying out orders. The older girls, Kitty, Anne, Jean and Ivy, were clever and capable, sewing, cooking, chops, pigs, milking and gardening, and caring for the younger ones, Grace, David, problem solvers with a make-do with what you've got mindset, typical of that generation. This was a case of necessity often being the mother of invention. Nolan Richards, who lives now in Alabama, was a neighbour, and he remembers that they were a harmonious family, all with a strong work ethic. Sadly, baby brother Eric died of depression in 1934. Grace was born shortly after in 1936. The family had one other tragedy, and well documented that Nolan Richards recalls. One Sunday, several of the boys, including Bertie, took embankment from 90 miles sand dunes to cover mud in the farm gateways. Partway through the loading of the truck, the portion of the dune collapsed, burying Bertie. They were unable to dig him out before he suffocated. It was a very sad loss, and Nolan remembered a great sense of humour. Thanks for your recollections, Nolan. And to his brother Raymond Richard, who reached out to Grace and often reminisced about early life in Newman Road in her last months. It is said, live a good and honourable life, then when you get old, look back, you'll be able to enjoy it a second time. we witnessed Grace do this, it was such a joy to her and a treasure for us to witness. The 26th of September marked the start of river swimming, a delight through long summer months as they raced home from school, got chores done and ran down to the river. It was where they all learnt to swim. The Awanui River ran along the back boundary of the Cyprian farm. The farm was 5 feet below sea level, protected by a stop bank. Steamships would regularly go down the river, and from the house it looked like they were gliding through the paddocks. Grace thought it was magical. Grace's best friend was Newman McLeod. She loved coming to the Cyprian house each day after school. All the people, energy and activity, sleeping outside on the veranda. Grace, however, wanted to be Myrna. Myrna was an only child. Oh, to have your own bed, your own clothes. Unbelievable. Grace was telling Carly that every weekend she would go down to Myrna's house. Every weekend they would sit and watch Myrna's mum make a chocolate cake. I can't ever recall eating any, Grace replied happily. Grace followed her 3 older sisters, Kitty, Anne and Ivy, into nursing. She trained and lived at Cook Hospital here in Gisborne. Pam was her best friend, a forthright, blonde bombshell, clever and outspoken. Grace says with a twinkle in her eye and a smile, she taught me a lot. I learned a lot about life from Pam. With 2 others, they... She's very good. With 2 others, with 2 others, they put money into buying an old car. We couldn't tell from the pictures what it was. Yesterday we asked Ray, and Ray remembered it was an old 1926 Austin A7, colour green. Dad said it was lucky they had mechanics as boyfriends. Once Grace got over her fear of blood, her caring nature and get stuck in attitude made her an accomplished nurse. Grace would never say, but Ray says she won some top nursing awards. Ray first saw Grace at the Army Hall dance. He said the other guys were talking about her, and they had their first date at a dance in the Patatahi Hall the following weekend. Pam, Grace's protective friend, says, "I'll never know how Ray got past me. I can only think I was momentarily distracted by Barry. I'll never forgive myself for that." On Pam's regular visits to our place, she recited versions of the same story. She knew Grace was clever and gorgeous and was not quite sure if the blonde-haired farming boy measured up. They went on to marry and got a share milking position in Lawrenceville, then T-Rail, where Stephen was born. Disliking the early mornings and wanting their own place, they bought 42 acres at Tikaraka, where Carolyn and myself were born. Through long hours of maize cropping on leased land, they were able to buy the hill country place at Otoko, with a big old house where baby Marisa came along. All the things that made Grace a great nurse made her an even better mother. Lots of no-nonsense care, hotties in bed, calamine lotion, lists, recipes and reminders written on envelopes clipped together with pegs. Practical, can-do, make-do, pull up your pants, put some spit on it and get on with it mothering. It felt like a free-range childhood. Once the firewood, peeling potatoes and feeding chooks was done, we would be dark or until hunger brought us inside. The tennis court, the batten huts, the docking, the raspberry patch, the raspberry fights. Once I recall Grace washing up with a cake of soap for swearing. He had been warned to stop. Carly was scared. She was the one that had told on him. Me, I was delighted. No nonsense parenting. Growing up, we had a great swing. Dad had hung number 8 wire from a tall pine tree over a small gully with water running through it. He would climb up onto a high timber stand, jump onto a stick fixed to the swing to try and land on an old tank on the other side, then come back. Carly, Stephen, me and Babs spent many hours on the swing taking turns. Whenever visitors with kids would arrive, Mum would always say, "Off you go, take them out to the swing." The school CWI tennis parties, docking, drenching, the party lines, the kids cooking, and constant cups of tea made up the picture of those years. Mum was always up by 6, had the fire in the porridge on, having completed a number of outside jobs already. She was brought up with early starts. We remember Ben spoke of his father waking them up with, "Come on, first up, best dressed," and him being told that this was a Unahi Road expression, because on the farm, the kids' clothes were pretty much communal. So if you were keen to go to school in nice, fitting, or even gender-appropriate clothes, it was a pretty good idea to get up early. The only exceptions to Mum's early morning get-up routine was grandkids. That kept her snuggling in bed with toast, books, and a cup of tea. Looking back, Grace was not the best cook. Sorry, Mum. The cabbage, peas and carrots needed to be on the boil by 4 o'clock, the potatoes half an hour earlier. Once Mum was in the middle of mixing something, and I asked her what she was cooking. "Oh, not sure yet, depends what I can find. Check with me when I'm finished." However, Grace was great on the Sunday roast, had a huge walk-in pantry full of preserves. Golden Queen peach season was followed by weeks of production line activity with sisters Joy and Faye and all kids assigned jobs. Our lives were closely entwined with the Trafford family. We felt we had a lot as kids, but store-bought stuff, not so much. As a result, Carolyn and I were great sewers and could make everything from anything. We loved getting boxes of hand-me-downs, especially from the flash Auckland cousins. Grace was a solid and constant support for Ray. I don't recall her questioning any of his farming, house or gardening, "If I can think it, I should do it," plans. That was evident when a new house came, hence the purple and red bathroom vanity, the lilac bath, the yellow and red toilets. Mum was content. Her family, sisters, garden, and now a new house. How blessed was she? She did it all, dredged, docked, mowed lawns, and had constant baking and cups of tea at the ready. Once when mowing the lawns, she came over and told Dad that the mower was buggered. "What's wrong with it?" asked Dad. "It's got water in the carburetor," she said. "Really?" Dad replied dubiously. "How do you know?" "Come." Mum walked Dad over to the pond. "See," she said, pointing to the back end of the ride-on mower poking out of the pond. "Water in the carburetor."
I remember it.
I never heard Mum complain. She looked after her sister Faye, often tirelessly in Faye's later years. At times it seemed to us that she did not have a lot of downtime. But reading her notes and diaries, we can see she got joy from so much. Ray and Grace did numerous trips around the world, and as a result, they had a constant stream of travellers visiting them at the farm. Always been offered bed, meals, tours, and work. They followed many All Black tours. On the 2005 Grandstand tour of Ireland, Wales, and England, Mum ended up with pneumonia. This was the early start of a number of lung problems for Grace. In her 80s, with declining health, Ray and Grace Grace moved from the farm into Beetham village. Then Grace went into Kirikanua, which she loved. "Hello from paradise," she would say on her phone messages. Right up to the very end, her words limited and energy waning, her first thought was for that of others. As her voice became softer and her words fewer, her smiles, twinkling eyes, hand clapping, and joy of her family and life made her shine. She had grown up in the Cyprian clan. She knew that simple was enough, that people mattered. Doing little things was a big thing. She was strong and clear in not only who she was, but what she was. Mother Teresa had it right when she said, "We cannot all do big things in our lives, but we can do little things that make a big impact." This was what Grace did in her life. Grace in name and grace in nature. To my children and my lovely boyfriend Phil, when I am walking around with a yellow peg on my shirt, spontaneous musings, random dress sense, things in my hair, flowers placed in your car, pineapple elastic around my head, hotties in your bed, do not despair or be embarrassed. I am embracing my Cyprianness. It is my mum who lives on through me. One of Mum's last shakily written notes to herself said, "Ray visits me every day on his scooter and brings me flowers. Long live Raymond." I will now ask Ray to come up. Phil's going to share a poem that Ray wrote in 1993. Come up, Frank might like to bring a chair up for Dad. Just while they're making their way up, it's appropriate that Grace's service is here at Bushmere Arms. Grace loved the garden here, and it was Jacinda's first choice for her wedding reception. Many may not have realised it, the special friendship Grace and Jacinda shared. Just come, grab a seat. Many people may not have realised the special friendship Grace and Jacinda shared, despite Grace never having voted for her. To be fair, Grace's advice, observations and recipes to Jacinda may have contributed to Jacinda's end of her reign. But Grace did get it right when she told her, "Just tell them, Jacinda, to be kind." Grace, this is not a goodbye. On behalf of your family, it is a thank you. Mum, we leave you in the loving arms of your siblings. Please hold baby Tenzin close to us. Close. Over to Ray and Phil. You can sit down here, Dad, because Phil's going to read your poem.
You can trust me, Ray. You're going to hear my voice, but these are Ray's words. This poem was written 30 years ago. We happened across it again a few days ago as we were looking for photos and whatnot for this service. It goes something like this. When I was a young fellow, such a long time ago, I got to dreaming. My ambition was to own land and become a millionaire, you know. And all that without hurting anyone, and with a conscience that's clear, marry a beautiful, young, supportive nurse such as Grace, who has become so dear. We started milking cows 4 years of it, but oh, what a chore. So we returned to Gisborne, bought a small farm and grew maize more and more. From there to Otoko, my dreams still in mind, we farmed pine trees, sheep, cattle and bought a few hinds. Made some money, so on the Tikaraka farm, kiwi fruit we tried. But then Bowler hit us and 70,000 trays gone and I came close to suicide. During the above, the children arrived, but we wished we'd had more. Stephen, Carolyn, Angela and later Marisa made only 4. Long hours were done, common sense, careful planning and all. A lot of hard physical work that at times left us both quite sore. But it seems strange that after all that trying and adjoining Otoko property, we ended up buying a mortgage of $1 million, and a few times wondering if we'd done it right. Land values, cattle, sheep and pine tree prices never even right. And a few years more, that elusive million was no longer a dream. With everything counted, we were worth nearly twice that, it would seem. But after all the above and the satisfaction and security it brings, health, family, friends, and the wonders of nature are the best of all things. I just wanted to make Angela talk about and Annie talk about Grace's last year or so, and I wanted to acknowledge the contribution that Annie and Carly have made in the last year, being a constant presence for Grace, and towards the end a nightly presence as well. She was never left alone. She had somebody with her every day, and I think those two, made a wonderful contribution to Grace's emotional well-being. That's great.
Thank you. It was all those kind words, and a good memory. It was looking back on it, it was hard work at the time, and I appreciate it for ourselves. But looking back on it now, we did the right thing at the right time, and so we're still here and helping. When I met Grace, I was at the Army Hall, and we're talking, Army Hall, and the group of girls sitting on the left-hand side, they went up, and then I was with the boys there, had a good round there all, and so they are, and Grace, and there's 3 or 4 others there, and the boys said, she was pretty good looking girl, so we get to know her, and that was, anyway, never left good stuff a bit, and I was still there, and I mentioned the Grace quite often, and it grew, and she wouldn't give me her first surname for a long, long, long time. Anyway, we hiked up the hospital there for a while, pretty, usual thing, and I still wanted to know her surname. She wouldn't give me her surname. I called her Smith for a while. And there's a little bit more there. Anyway, we can pick up the tab.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Annie and Phil. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Stephen Newman. I'm the oldest of the 4 of us. And why my talk up here might repeat a little bit what Angela said. So just bear with me, so there might be a bit of a crossover here. So firstly, I'd like to thank all the Ryman staff for looking after Grace in her declining years. The staff treated Mum with respect and dignity and came, and the care and service that our family saw was truly remarkable. And it's nice to see some of the staff here today. I'd also like to thank Carolyn for her support throughout the last year at Ryman's and the support given by Angela and Brisa. So Mum and and Dad were married in Kaitaia in March 1960. They moved to Morrinsville area and worked on several years milking cows. It was in Morrinsville that I came along in January 1961. Ray and Grace decided that milking cows was not for them and purchased a block of 10 racking, which brought them closer to the area of the great Newman family members were settled. My sisters, Carolyn, was born, followed by Angela, and Risa followed a time later. Home for Grace for a good number of years. We were involved in the local primary school where Grace quickly became part of fundraisers, galas and days. My parents were maize growers and at one stage one of the largest maize growers in Awanui Bay. When I asked Ray about this, why he didn't keep the maize growing on, he sort of thought it was quite a bit of work. We're going to do open cab tractors and thought it was quite difficult. So they weren't content just with driving tractors. So between them they decided to buy a hill country property. And my mother thought that the family would be closer together and would have more family time together than Dad spending the hundreds of hours on the tractors. So they purchased at the top of the Otoko Hill from the Hankey family 600 acres and settled into the district. The house was very old and the farm was very steep. I had a few conversations with Mum over the years regarding the purchase of one of the harder farms in the area and why they settled where they did. She said at the time the size of the farm was important and they wanted to be close to the main highway, which would then make it easier to get into gisborne. Together they subsequently bought another 900 acres from the Sanson family. With the combined properties they named this Forest Station. Mum enrolled us kids at the Otoko school once again, had her part in the involvement in pet days and helping out when needed. Grace became a solid member of the Otoko community and she and Ray made lifelong friends with neighbours in the community up in the Otoko area. CWI, now WI, became a big part of Mum's life on the farm. It gave her a chance to get away and bond with other hard-working farming females in the district and compare their highs and lows. She went on to hold several positions, including now club president. So Angela mentioned the house, but in 1973 they built a new house. It was a lot more comfortable than our older one. And during this time, Mum made us comfortable in the old shearers' quarters, which was 2 old railway wagons combined with an old caravan. I did not know how she managed farm duties, cooking and caring for all of us under extreme conditions, but she did, and we stayed up there for about 9 months while the house was built. Grace had 2 sisters, Joy and Faye, in the region, which brought great company for her. Joy and family were living in Tikaraka, and Grace certainly enjoyed seeing her nieces and nephews grow up. She was close to all of them. Joy and Grace would get together and stew apples, and us kids peeling hundreds of golden queen peaches for bottling. And this seemed to take weeks and weeks and weeks. We didn't enjoy it. I think a better time was when we found an automated sort of peach peeler or that sort of streamlined the whole thing. Not too many people do bottling anymore, they just buy it from the supermarket, which was probably a little bit easier. Grace's sister Faye would spend weekends with us and became a great help for us, looking after us kids. So she would be with us some weekends and the Trafford kids were some weekends. So we were sort of all a little bit afraid of Auntie Faye at times, because she was pretty good with the wooden spoon if we were misbehaving. Farming in the late 70s and early 80s was very difficult, but Grace would be out there on the farm doing as much as possible. She regularly was out there drenching and helping, dagging lambs, taking stock up and down the road, fencing, helping in the yards and constantly picking up food and farm supplies for gisborne, and of course looking after my father and us 4 kids. My mother was a very generous hostess and we had an open door policy that people stayed in the house or on the farm. My parents shared their little farm life with city relatives, some of them here today, and overseas guests. My parents were members of an exchange program that brought a variety of overseas guests to our farm. Grace openly accepted these people into our farm despite skill and language and often personal problems, personality problems. She was very accepting and understanding of their situation. And still to this day, we keep in touch with some of the people from Denmark, Germany, and Canada. So it was a good experience, and we've travelled ourselves. We've gone off and studied with them in these different countries around the world. And Ray and Grace has gone up to see them in different parts of Europe. Still, while on the Tikaraka property, my parents planted kiwi fruit in 1981. Several times during the week, Grace would journey down to the village, fruit plants, trading the wires and strings and shaping the orchard. Not just being content with being growers, they decided to purchase the old Tikaraka Picture Theatre and convert this into a pack house. The pack house ran for many years, but due to cyclone Ebola in '88 and a depressed kiwi fruit market, these plants were removed. The pack house is still there, or the picture theatre is still there. It's just a storage place for some of the raised timber. Grace and Brady were heavily involved in the Farm Forestry Association and attended several conferences throughout New Zealand. They won the North Island Farm Forest of the Year in 2006 and also won awards for innovation in farm forestry and recognition to their contribution to excellence in farm forestry in '97. I know Ray was particularly fond of the farm forestry groups, and I see some of the people here today, which is nice to see. The trees are still growing really well at the farm there. Some of them probably could do with a prune, but they're still growing very well. The harvesting of pine trees brought many good times for my parents. Grace was able to spend more time visiting her daughters and planning overseas trips. Grace and Ray became cruisers. They saw Europe, went up into Alaska, toured the Hawaiian Islands, and enjoyed the Mediterranean. When we returned from a cruise and asked them what the hire was, I was just enjoyed staying in bed in the cabin and receiving room service and not cooking meals. Speaking of meals, Mum did a great bacon and egg pie, and she was never without lamingtons. She must have felt very rich for the freezer for the lamingtons, and they were particularly good, the chocolate ones. The lemon ones are not so good. There were always ice cream containers in the freezer, and they were either marked mince, meat, or lamingtons. It was always a bit of a mystery. During the meal, we'd ask what sort of meat we were eating, and she would quite often say it was mystery meat. It was a freezer. The meat tasted good, and as long as it was with potatoes and peas, we were fine. In later years, when Ray had his hip replaced, the bone was placed in the freezer, and still to this day, we do not know what happened to that hip bone. I don't know why he thought it.
Could you speak up, please? I can't hear.
Sorry, Auntie Jan. Is that better?
Thank you. That's
Okay.
better. Thank you.
This is an important part, Auntie Jan.
I wasn't hearing.
Okay. When Ray had his hip done, they probably asked him at the hospital, what do you want to do with your hip? He wanted to bring it back to the farm, and he put it in the freezer. You can do that. But we never really know what happened to that hip, still to this day.
You probably stewed it.
You're right, we think Grace may have stewed it. The mystery meat. So I was asking Anne, who cleaned out the freezer the other day, if she found that hip. We didn't find Ray's hip. So we still don't know what happened to it. Probably the moral of the story is don't put it in freezers. Grace was always a great supporter of family members. She would acknowledge our accomplishments and what we had achieved, but always been interested and very positive. Anytime any of us kids were flying out of Gisborne to Auckland or heading overseas, Grace would be on the front lawn up at the farm, waving the tablecloth or sheet at the plane. I don't think any of us saw this, as it was quite difficult to see at 15,000 feet. But we all witnessed it at ground level. So over, Angela or Reese is leaving, and she's waving the sheet out there, and I'm thinking she's just dusting it off. And she said, "Oh, I'm waving to the girls who are just leaving. They can't see. Come side. But she did that quite regularly. I think it was a bit of a farewell for her. Grace travelled to London a bit and visited Buckingham Palace, the Tower Bridge and travelled. She was so taken with the Queen that she purchased a corgi. And she named this corgi Honey. Honey was a great companion for Grace, but she was constantly digging the garden and running in circles most of the day. I think she had some sort of disorders, and she was a house dog, and I don't think Dad approved of it too much because the dog would come inside a little bit. And the other sheepdogs looked at the corgi as a little bit strange. Also, I have to mention Jacinda here too, because Anne just mentioned her. So as you can see in the service program, and I thought this was very strange because I don't think Mum had ever voted for Labor in her life. But maybe Jacinda got it at Labor that particular time. So anyway, Mum was very proud of that. So finally, I'd say that Grace wore many hats. Not only was she our mum, a devoted wife, a sister, mother-in-law, a great-grandmother to three, which she really enjoyed, an auntie, a sister-in-law, and a friend to all of us here. She was the one who brought me to the world, held my hand, now my heart's pretty low.
Just like to say, I was meant to say that Grace died on Saturday the 10th of February, and I know that we were sort of waiting for a little mistake to happen and that Grace would always be fine with it, so that was my beautiful, thank you for that, those lovely words. And there is one line in that song, "You were an angel in the shape of my mum." And that fits so much. We'll reflect on our own mums. For some of you, your mum may have died many decades ago, or maybe you are seeing your mum now begin to slow down a little. Maybe you had a good relationship, maybe we owe our mothers our existence. So for all of us, that line, "You were or are an angel in the shape of my mum," fits. So I invite you now to reflect on the life of Grace, to your life, and to reflect on your own mother as we listen to this special song.
I took the supermarket flyers from the windowsill, threw the day old tea from the cup, packed up the photo album Matthew had made, memories of a life that's been loved. Took the get well soon cars and stuffed animals, poured the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when, but Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up, but you were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. When God takes you back, you'll say hallelujah, you're home. I fluffed the pillows, made the bed, stacked the chairs up, folded your nightgown in a case. John said he'd drive, then put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. And I hope that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know a life with love is a life that's been lived. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. When God takes you
and I was blessed with having Grace Newman as my nana. I'm so grateful that through my name I get to carry her with me. Your cheeky and loving personality has heavily shaped who I am today, and you'll continue to influence the person I am tomorrow. You left your mark on every person you knew and loved. I'll miss when I was younger and walking around the garden at the farm and walking over to the island on the narrow old bridge and clinging onto the side rails for security. Would pick daffodils in the spring and have picnics with homemade lemonade in Leamington. Doing all of this in my bright pink puffer jacket that I'd leave at the house for my visit. When we depart, our eyes singing from 10, and your random smirks accompanied by a wink mid-sentence when I had zero idea what you'd been plotting for us. I'll look at the stars. Aroha mutanga kura koe nana. I love you endlessly.
How am I the shortest of my whole family? Firstly, welcome to you all, and thank you all for being part of Mum's beautiful life in some way. I will try and capture some of the many memories that I am grateful for. I will always cherish those mornings snuggled up in the big bed between you and Dad. It was like our own little fortress of love, keeping the world at bay for just a little while longer. Thank you, Mum, for getting up in the morning. I would find my school clothes crispy and warm on the rack in front of the fire. For walking me to the letterbox to catch the school bus and being home after school to hear my news that always started with, guess what? Thank you for applying cream or medicine for soreness and fevers from the first aid basket in the hallway cupboard. None of the medicine was within its best by date or even within the current century. But I'm sure that it was the hot water bottle and the kiss on the forehead that cured all ailments. Thank you for taste testing food that it had been in the fridge for over a month, always declaring it to be fine or saying, just trim that bit off. When we were out and about, Mum was always able to produce a morsel of food wrapped up in a tissue from a CWI meeting or a morning tea out. Fruitcake or asparagus rolls were a favourite. But beyond those everyday moments, Mum was also my greatest teacher. You taught me that being a woman meant more than just having good manners. It meant embracing life with sass and style, always ready with a smile and a perfectly applied coat of lipstick. Mum showed me the art of cooking as long as the main ingredient was potato, and the art of making a cup of tea with a tea bag on its third use. The importance of making everyone feel welcome in our home. We spoke most days on the phone. The call always started with, how are you, darling? Followed by, how are the children? Then Mum would give a weather report, current events from the Gisborne Herald, and theme from the talkback radio that day. Mum, you taught me how to love, how to be an awesome, nurturing, supportive mother to my children. Mum taught me to be resilient through being kind, thoughtful, and seeing the beauty in all people and moments. You've all heard that Mum was a mother till the end. In her final weeks, she was telling Carly to put on a cardigan because she was cold. As we took turns sleeping on the floor beside her, in her little voice, she would ask in the morning, did you sleep okay? Mum, you always seemed to know if something was wrong. I never had to ask for help. You always guided me and helped me learn and grow. Thank you will never be enough. But my love, my strength, and my positivity will be in your honour, Mum. Before I finish, I would like to add the biggest gift my mum has left me is my kauri tree of a father, my protective brother, and my two amazing warrior sisters. Mum, on my darkest days, when I am feeling weak, lost, or just sad, I will remember whose daughter I am, and I will straighten my crown. I love you, Mum.
Hello everyone, my name is Taylor and I am one of Grace's grandchildren, Annie's eldest daughter. And I wanted to share some memories of Grace, my nana, on behalf of myself and my two younger sisters, Heidi, who is currently living and working in London, and Abby, who is living and working in Melbourne at the moment, both of which wish they could be here today but are joining us via live stream. Growing up, we spent many fond times with Nana and Papa and created many treasured memories that will stay with us forever. Every year we'd make the long trek up to Gisborne from Palmerston North for Christmas with early starts and promises of McDonald's breakfast on the way. We'd be greeted with love and smiles and were always quick to check the deep freeze for goodies, a task that turned into somewhat of a lottery as Heidi, Abby and I tried to figure out which of the ice cream containers labelled beef were really filled with beef and which ones contained a separate stash of lamingtons. For us, being at Nana and Papa's was full of wonder and adventure. Exploring the garden, picking plums and black currants, feeding the chickens, watching a set of fake legs flail in the pond as you open a nearby gate, and collecting tadpoles to watch them grow into frogs were just a few of the ways we spent on our days on those many joyful visits to the farm. Every year we'd pick out a Christmas tree from somewhere on the farm and decorate it with Nana. Unfortunately, we couldn't always find a tree that had many branches, so we often had to crowd multiple decorations on a single branch, which made for a unique looking tree, to say the least, branches dangling. Nana taught us the valuable lesson of how to best use and enjoy the things around us. I recall the first time we made fresh lemonade with her. We had spent hours picking and squeezing lemons from the lemon tree and then were shocked with how much sugar it actually took to make fresh lemon juice drinkable. I think we might have used all the sugar in the house. Needless to say, the next morning's porridge was probably a little bit bland, but we had lemonade. We looked forward to the cookout on the farm every year, going out on the back of the ute to a spot by the creek, bundled up in Nana's old farm jackets, stocked with potatoes wrapped in tin foil and dough ready to be wrapped around sticks and cooked over the fire. The jokes about rolling down the steep hill by the cookout spot in an old tyre had to stop on one particular occasion when Ravi got a little bit too serious about actually doing it. Nana was a generous soul. Most years we could rely on the delivery of a giant box to our house filled with fresh fruit from the farm and something random from the kitchen or the pantry chucked in on top. She loved to be cheeky with her gifts too. Each time she would leave our house, we'd all rush to our bedrooms to look under our pillows to find an envelope with $10 or $20 in it, snuck there by Nana, hidden so Mum and Dad couldn't stop her giving us cash. Which, $20 was a lot of money for kids that didn't have pocket money, so it was pretty special. Nana created an environment for us to explore nature. She spoiled us with love and always encouraged us to be cheeky. She will live on in everything she taught us. Her kindness and sass, and early morning snuggles in bed, and Christmases spent with family, and freshly picked fruit, and homemade lamingtons. How lucky we are to be made of such great stuff. Thanks, Nana.
Our mum Joy was Grace's younger sister and our dad Buffy, as if he was also first cousin to Uncle Ray. They met at Grace and Ray's wedding in Kaitaia.
two sisters marrying two cousins, and so two legendary couples in our family were born. We were kind of a super related family, and spent lots of time at each other's houses growing up. So much so that Marisa and I referred to each other as sister cousins, and got matching tattoos with Grace Joy and Grace's name on our arms to remind us of our mums and to remind us to try and live our lives with joy and grace. There are so many cherished memories from our childhood spent with the Newmans. So many barbecues, tennis matches, sleepovers and parties, and we all remember that epic rope swing, which the ravine at their farm in Otoko, which was an iconic 80s death trap that we somehow all survived. Grace and Mum were especially close, and with Faye they formed the trio of gisborne sisters. As you've heard, the three sisters spent many weekends together and would help each other out with childcare and things like bottling fruit, which is the third time you've heard it, so I think it's probably scarred us all life. What I remember is that we dared go in the kitchen because it was full of hot ovens and boiling water as they bottled the batches of nectarines, peaches, pears and plums. Not only did they bottle the fruit together in batches, they had their kids together in batches too. First batch was Stephen, Carly and Annie, Glenn, Dinah and Jen. Second batch a few years later with Marisa, me and Tony, the little kids. After Mum died over 30 years ago, Auntie Grace and my older sisters, Dinah and Jenny, filled some of the space that the loss of her mother took up. When I was around Auntie Grace though, I felt I could feel my mother more, like her memories seemed more real to me when Auntie Grace was near, which I love. When I became a doctor, Grace gave me a hug and told me she was proud of me, and even though my parents had passed, I knew Mum and Dad were with her in her heart when she said that. Grace was such an attentive and loving aunt. Even if it was just getting a pair of fluffy socks for Christmas, or a toy for my son Jai, or a phone call near exam time when I was in med school, she was able to do those little things, like Annie said, the little things that mean so much. They actually did really mean so much, and I really appreciated her thoughtfulness. Grace was a real simpringham too, with a wicked sense of humour and quirkiness that all the Sims have you've heard. But she lived up to her first name and lived her life with such humility, grace, warmth and love that she touched the hearts of so many. Auntie Grace was a truly caring human, and I have to say she really was a favourite auntie of ours. She was extremely beloved by everyone, was a wonderful wife to Uncle Ray, and she was loved fiercely by her friends, family, and warriors of the staff at residents at Kiritakana. Some people say that grief is like a shipwreck at sea. It comes in waves that wash over you, and when the ship is first wrecked, you feel like you're drowning in all the wreckage and beauty and magnificence of the ship that was, and is now no more. Grace was absolutely magnificent in her beauty, her love for her family, and the care she showed for those around her. All we can do now is float amongst the wreckage and find a piece to hang on to, like a happy memory of her smiling face, a cheeky one-liner comeback line that make us laugh. You know the ones, whether it was about bum tattoos, or farming, or the Women's Institute, Auntie Grace knew how to crack a joke. I know those big waves of grief are going to crash around us for some time yet, until they finally start to get smaller and smaller and further apart. And although I'll miss Auntie Grace so much, I know that she's at rest now. And I can still see her anytime I want, and the smiles and laughter of her children, and her great-children, and her great-grandchildren. A part of her will always be here in the light. So from our remaining family to yours, from Glenn, Diana, Jenny, Tony and me, and all of our children and grandchildren, Grace was passing heralds the end of an era filled with so many great memories. But the legacy she has left will go on, and she will live on our hearts and on our arms forever.
Thank you for those special tributes. It was lovely to hear those memories. We did have on our service sheet that there was an opportunity to open the floor now for a very brief time. I am aware of the time and that Robin has food ready, so we may share those further memories when we're having our cup of tea and refreshments, unless there is someone that would really like to come up. Is that okay, family? And yes, but a message that I have that I would like to share I will read on behalf of granddaughter Claire. Good afternoon. I wish that I could have been here today to celebrate the life of my Nana. However, I was fortunate to say goodbye on our recent visit to Gisborne, which I am forever grateful for. Growing up, I was very lucky to be able to spend countless hours with my Nana. These consisted of sleepovers with her during the weekend, with her helping tend the farm, and there were always things to do. My favourite memories were helping bottle feed the young lambs, collect fresh eggs from the chicken coop, and feeding the numerous hard-working dogs. Each morning she would make her famous porridge. I don't know what the secret recipe was, but I believe it consisted of a lot of salt. During the winter nights, Nana would always make the freezing cold room bearable by providing us with hot water bottles. Nana would make the most of summer holidays, and we would spend time with her at the holiday park. We would do so many fun activities with her, and simple ones, by just hanging out at the beach and having an ice cream. Nana, you were able to see your family grow from your children to grandchildren to now 3 beautiful great-grandchildren. As we bid farewell to Nana, we take comfort in the memories that she has left us. That is from her granddaughter Claire over in Melbourne. Let us enjoy some happy times as we watch the photo presentation.
Heard there was a secret chord David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major left, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Their faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty, and the moonlight overthrew ya. Well, she tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne and cut your hair. From your lips she drew hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before, seen this room, I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya, and I saw your flag on the marble arch. Our love is not a victory march, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love is how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Please the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Some lovely photos there, and I can see from those photos that Grace's life was filled with her favourite thing. Her life was filled with people. Carolyn, I'd like you to come up to share your words.
My name is Caroline. I just have a short review I'd like to share with you today. Though his smile has gone for you up, and I cannot touch, we shall never lose the memory of the mum so much. Weep not that she is gone, that smile that she has seen, a tender, heartfelt thought that brings a tear, and a silent wish that you were here. To the world you were but one, to us you were the world. When tears we would stream, we watched you fade away. Our hearts were slowly breaking as you was hard to stay. You did not want to leave us, but you did not go alone. What of us went with you? And the day
When we get to the end of our life, an important and reflective question is what makes a life full and happy. For Grace, the answer would be to be content, to just get on with the job, to not complain, to show compassion towards others. These things are the measure of a full life. And you know you have lived well if you have had a positive impact on others, because at your death, people remember you fondly, just like how Grace is being remembered today. So let Grace be an example to us. Let's have an even more loving life, be even more resilient, do wonderful things, show care to others, be selfless, and have a good time along the way, because life is short. Even if we get to 87, it's still just a blink. Grace leaves a legacy through her example. She knew that life was quite simple, really. We want to do our best with the time we have. We want to show love. We want to be remembered fondly. The following words are fitting for today. Fallen limb. A limb has fallen from the family tree. I keep hearing a voice that says, grieve not for me. Remember the best times, the laughter, the song, the good life I lived while I was strong. Continue my heritage, I'm counting on you. Keep smiling, and surely the sun will shine through. My mind is at ease, my soul is at rest, remembering all how I truly was blessed. Continue traditions, no matter how small. Go on with your life. Don't worry about falls. I miss you all dearly, so keep up your chin until the day comes we're together again. We are now coming to the final moments of this ceremony. If you are able, please stand for the closing words. With respect, honour, affection and love, we commit Dorothy Grace Newman to our memories. Her love and care we commit to our hearts. Her body has been returned to the elements. We give thanks that we had her in our lives. We thank you for all that you were, Grace, and all that you gave. We thank you for being you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields until we meet again. May God hold you in the palm of his hand. Love and light on this journey. Forever in our hearts, may you rest in peace. Grace loved flowers, she loved her garden. This beautiful venue today has been chosen especially. So I now invite you to enter the garden, to admire the beauty like Grace loved to do. May we leave feeling love, gratitude and support as we remember Grace.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what I want. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful